As I'm sitting here thinking about this particular task in which you wanted us to do a video in regards to writing a memo to our principal about the three specific groups that involves technology usage in the classroom, I was a little stumped by this, and it's only because at my school, my principal tends not to hire someone that has less than 3 years experience unless she absolutely cannot fill the position by a more experienced teacher. So, and that just recently happened to us starting this new semester, because a veteran teacher had to go out first semester on medical leave and he's not coming back. So his replacement happens to be his student teacher. And so I should say his student teacher from last school year. So this is her first time with having a classroom to herself without any supervision. So when I was thinking about this, like, what things can we do, even though in our professional learning communities, every week when we have them, we have grade level twice a month, and then we also have content every week. And that is something that we talk about in both PLC communities, in the grade level and in the content meetings, about teacher use of technology. And they always try to, for the grade level one, they always try to bring someone in from our building that uses a pretty good much of technology to show us what he or she is using in his classroom and to give us some hands-on experience. And even though I hadn't said anything to my principal or my assistant principal, but my teammates informed them that I am working on my master's in technology and that I have some pretty good ideas. So first semester, I was asked to present something that I do in my classroom with my students, and during the grade level PLCs for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And so I demonstrated for them about the blogs, and I pulled up the blogs to see. And my colleagues, they were very kind. They enjoyed the blogs. They enjoyed reading responses. But then the questions were, because I chose to set up a blog for every class period, and I happened to teach 5 classes of language arts, one of them being gifted. They was like, did that take up a lot of time, and does it take a lot of time? And I have to admit, setting up the 5 different blogs did not take up a lot of time. But when I go back in to read responses and I comment on every single child that has posted, that does take up a lot of time. So someone suggested to me that why don't I just have one blog for all the kids to just post on that one blog about the same topic, and then therefore I pick and choose, randomly to respond. But I just, even though it does take up a lot more of my time, I just personally like having them separated by class periods, and then I can go in, because there's sometimes students in a class period may post something in the blog, and that everybody in other class periods may not need to know about. So when we were doing this, it just made me think about, gee, we really don't have anyone that's under 5 years of teaching experience, except for the student teacher that's now has their own classroom that just started this semester. But pretty much everybody else is going to be a veteran teacher. And speaking of those veteran teachers, pretty much the majority of them do try to incorporate some kind of form of technology in the classroom, but there are a few, and I can probably count on one hand those few teachers that are just really not into it. And we were looking at, when I did the grade level PLC and was talking about my blogs, when the special education department teachers came in, they were talking about how that wouldn't be good for their students, but I told them that before this school year, being on the STEM team, for the last 4 years, I had been on the inclusion team, and that I knew about this software program that was on all the student computers where students could go in and they could type their papers, and there was some kind of editing device that would read what they type. It would self correct their spellings, and that I know that the special ed department in the county had put a lot of money into this program. And I remember going to the training with my co-teacher. And so when I mentioned that, it's like a aha moment, because they did realize that, yes, but I guess they're not using the program, which I thought, if your department is putting that much money into a software program, and all of our special ed classes have enough computers for the students in their classes to use, then why are you not readily using the resources that are there? But I do have some inclusion teachers that stated that that would maybe something for them to use with, I'm sorry, the co-teaching teachers stated that may be something that they, in the language arts classes, stated that may be something that they would want to do, blog, have their special ed students to blog instead of having them to do paper pencil kind of things. Also, there are a couple teachers that go out on their own and they buy expensive equipment like the webcam and other things that they use, and other kind of high-end devices that they use, and they get the technical data specialist to come in, and she hooks these things up in the classrooms for them so that they can use their own devices that they went out to, and bought themselves personally to incorporate using technologies. Because as STEM teachers at my school, we have one on each grade level. There is a STEM team, and like I said, all the kids on the STEM team have the Dell tablets, and of course the teachers, we also have the Dell tablets that's on the STEM team. And teachers are constantly saying, well, you guys should have no problems with utilizing or integrating technology in your classroom, because of the fact that your kids have those devices. But when we bring up that just about every single child in the building has some type of cell phone, and some of them have the nice smartphones that some of us teachers, me personally, don't have. I just have a regular Android phone. That, all kids have cell phones and they can use their cell phones. And then I told them if they was to really ask their students, they would know that their students have tablets and iPads at home as well. But it's just about the teachers being comfortable with letting those students bring those things in and use them during class time for class assignments. My son goes to school in a different county, and at the beginning of the year, in the middle school that he's in his 8th grade year, they have a form for us to sign that allows your child to bring in their own devices. And you fill that form out, and of course on the form it says, about the school is not responsible, which, I understand. But if your school doesn't have the technology, but your students do, allow them to bring in the devices to use. And like I said, my son is in his 3rd year. We haven't had any problems, so hopefully we won't have any problems. But that's something else for us to think about in the county that I teach in, about getting that same kind of letter form that my son's county, which is Newton County, is using, so that maybe if we do that, then more parents and students will feel comfortable about bringing in their own devices. Because parents in the community are wondering, like, well, why are those kids on the STEM team only allowed to have devices? And it shouldn't be that way. It's just the school provided those students on that team those devices. But if the children not on the STEM teams have devices, they should have that same opportunity to bring in their devices and do the work as well. And looking at my memo, and like I said, this assignment kind of really got to me because I was trying to think of for each specific group. And like I said, for the experienced teachers with less teaching experience, we just have that one person, and I haven't, other than been introduced to her on the pre-planning before the students came back to start second semester. I really don't know what all she knows as far as being technology savvy. But one thing I do know that from personal experience, that when I went out on my medical leave last school year, when we have a long-term sub, they tend to want it to be a retired teacher. And I got fortunate that a retired teacher from my school had retired. And so she came back to be my long-term sub when I went out on medical leave. And so I remember I had, I felt comfortable with her because she was the reading specialist at our school. So I was going to leave her my passcode information so she could log in to take attendance, to input grades, because I knew these are all things that she knew how to do. We also have electronically where you can write students up for discipline referrals, but I knew she knew all of that. But when we sat down with the administrator and the technology specialist, they told me that no, I wouldn't need to do that, that they would reactivate, the county was going to reactivate her so that she could have her own login, so that, and they was going to somehow connect it to my stuff so that she could go in and she could continue to take the attendance electronically, as well as continue to input grades in my grade book, and like I said about the discipline, and receive email and get the emails and things like that. So and I also happen to know just from experience, when a teammate is out and if they have something that they want the kids to do involving the projector screen, we tell one another so that the regular teacher can go over and log in to pull up the work for the sub. Like I said, I don't know why the county that I work in do not allow subs to have login access, and do not let them check out equipment from the media center. But if a sub happens to come into your classroom and they have their own laptop or iPad or something like that, then they log in up under, they use the Wi-Fi for the guests. But so the only thing I could think of is that, they want subs to be actively monitoring the students and not be sitting behind the desk being on their electronic devices, even though there are some subs that bring in the electronic devices and they do sit behind the teacher's desk and they're not monitoring, but those subs tend not to be allowed to sub back in the building that I teach in. But the ones that are really good and do their jobs, those are the ones that we can always depend on, and from the sub list, and they'll come back in. So I basically was just thinking of some things that I hate to say that, we either currently do now. I really couldn't think of anything that we really don't already not use. And I'm pretty sure there are some things, but I was just trying to think of things that I personally, and I know that other teachers personally just happen to, like I said, in our grade levels that we have twice a month in the professional learning communities, when a staff member comes in to let us know what they're doing in their classroom involving technology. And I also know that at the district level, when we have someone come in, they're from the professional development department, they just told us that they've now added a technology piece. So a person will come in and show us how to use different programs and software and things like that sometimes as well. But the person just got hired for the start of this new semester. So hopefully and during one of our grade levels, that person will be coming in to sit down with us and teach us some more things, because Rockdale County, I'm pretty sure like other counties, are realizing that, you know, technology is the way to go, and that, you know, we're really, you just can't get away from not using it in your classroom. And like I said in a previous video, I thought I was doing something when I was just using PowerPoints and using the CPS clickers when we would create testlets, which are mini quizzes where the students either do true, false, or multiple choice A, B, C, or D, and they would just use the clickers. So I thought I was doing something until I got into this cohort and for this master's degree program, and found out that no, it's more than that. And like I said, a lot of the ideas that we are using through or have been using have been really helpful to me, but like at the same time it's also frustrating when you really don't have the support at the top level. Like I said with my principal, when she was wondering why I was using WordPress and not using the My Big Campus. And it's ironic that we had a conversation today even about that, because she was checking in to see if the My Big Campus people had fixed our problem. And I was like, no, they haven't. And so I was said to her, I said, you know, my grandmother always says that if something is not broke, don't fix it. And I was like, I kind of feel like that's what My Big Campus is, broken. It's not being fixable, so just leave it alone. Whereas my WordPress, there's nothing wrong with it for my blogs. It works for me. I haven't had any issues except for when the internet's not working, but that's not a WordPress issue. And like I said, the kids are loving it. They're enjoying it. And I mentioned to them just to see who had heard of wikis, and a lot of them had from well, I shouldn't say a lot of them. I should say my gifted students had, because the resource gifted pull-out teacher that they go to research class with her, she has had them doing some wikis and using Google Docs along with some other teachers. So they're pretty comfortable with that. I just have to get the rest of my other 4 classes that are not used to wikis, get them comfortable and show them how to do it. And but the science teacher on the team, she does a lot of things with Google Docs. And as I've been doing things for this cohort, it just dawned on me that, you know, the kids could be using Google Doc, especially with this research piece that we're doing, and I'm allowing them to do it in a group, and that's a perfect way for someone to start, and then the group members go in and edit and comment and things like that. So you know, things come to you as you're working, and you know, you don't think about it at the time, but then when you get a time to relax, then it's like, oh, this is something I can do. And I still joke with my teammates and my family members, and I say that I still have chemo brain. So I was like, so I have to write things down when it comes to me, because if I don't, I may not remember it, and it may be some days later and then I think about it. But if I write it down, then it tends to stick with me a little bit more, because I see it visually. And just a little side note, because my kids have been doing the blogs, and we've been doing some essay writing as well, they're getting ready to take the mock writing, as the 8th graders are getting ready to take the state writing assessment on tomorrow, the 22nd. My students, they were like wanting to know if they could use their devices to type. And I had to tell them no, because the company that scores the mock writing is called Write Score. And I was like, so they're gonna you have to put it on paper. And they kind of looked at me, and so I started thinking maybe I've been hindering them a little bit, because I do allow a lot of journal writing and with the blogging to be done on their tablets, when I really need to get them back into being comfortable and using paper and pen. But I don't know. Still, hear my administrator saying that my class should be different from the other two language arts classes. But then when we do the county benchmarks, all of us are taking the benchmark, which is paper and pencil. When we get ready to take the CRCT in April, which is the Criterion Reference Competency Test, again, that's paper and pencil. And the testlets, which I mentioned earlier, are the mini quizzes that we do. My kids, depending on how long it is, we may use the CPS clickers. If it's less than 10 questions, we tend to use the CPS clickers. But I also try to get them to get out of the habit of always relying upon multiple choice and true false. Try to get them to write out statements, and especially when it comes to vocabulary, because when I give a vocabulary quiz, I don't ask them for the definition. They are given sentences, and they have to insert the vocabulary word into the sentence. And thinking out loud, the last time I mentioned about I wanted to be able to use Twitter with my sixth graders. So I just took a poll with the kids themselves, and they were so excited. So I mentioned to them, I was like, now this excitement you have, how can we? And I was like, let me take out some chart paper and let's write ideas down. And I had a student write the ideas down for each class period. How can I get your parents to be okay with you setting up a Twitter account? And they came up with some wonderful ideas. And so now I'm excited, and I'm going to take the ideas and present them to my principal, because I know my assistant principal, she's going to be all aboard, because she knows that I'm one of those teachers, that I'm about kids, and I enjoy teaching, and I enjoy the kids. And when she comes in to observe me, she was like, the kids are always actively engaged, and sometimes our discussions are quite loud and I have to bring them back in, but the kids have so much fun. So I've got to just present it to my principal for her to see if it's okay with her, because I always want to get her okay before I do anything. Because if a parent complains, they won't come to the teacher. They always go straight to her instead. So, but the kids are really excited about it. And a couple of my students that have siblings are in the 8th grade, and they were mentioning, oh, my brother and my sister, they have Twitter accounts and they're using it in Miss So-and-so's class. And I was like, yes, I knew about that. I was like, but the difference is they're in the 8th grade getting ready to go to high school. You're in the 6th grade. You still have some middle school years. So I guess I will let you know how that turns out. I mentioned before about having the coworker that went to teach over in China. So that's something else that I'm interested in, trying to get that set up with her, to work it out with the time difference and everything, so that her students and my students can communicate. And depending on the time of when we're going to do this, it's probably going to probably be maybe one class that will get a chance to do this. So she and I are trying to work that out. We're Facebook friends, so I told her that I'm interested, and she was like, her kids are excited about it. But like I said, she does have 4th graders, and I was like, and she knows that I have 6th graders, so the age difference is not too far off. So I think both will enjoy. She has sent me some pictures that I have pulled up and showed all of my classes, and I've mentioned to them, and so they're just like, want to know what class that I'm going to choose. I would love to be able to have all of my students be able to do this, but it probably is going to work out best if only one class does it. And like I said, it'll have to be whatever class, with working out the time difference between China and us. So That's one thing. Also, being on the STEM team, we have I can't remember this new it's this flat screen TV that hooks up, and the kids have been able to talk to scientists that work with NASA. So it was like a link and it was live. So that was fun for them. It was done through a working lunch. And sorry, like I said, my mind is drawing a blank right now as to that expensive device that the school has. They actually got it last year and it was not used, but they got it in preparation for having the STEM Academy this year. So we've had that. Like I said, the students were able to ask the scientist questions, and they were excited about that. Also, I know that the math teachers have had where, oh, I think it was a professor. I don't can't remember the school. The kids were able to ask her some questions about some math concepts and see how it was worked out, or they were watching her work it out with her students, the questions that our students had. But and I know the students enjoyed that because they actually got a chance to see. But those that professor was in the United States. I just can't remember offhand because again, this happened with the math teacher. Um, like I said, for language arts, we pretty much don't have anything going on right now except for, like I said, the communication that my coworker, and I keep saying my coworker, she's really an ex-coworker since she's in China this school year, wants to set up with communicating between her students and my students. Um, oh, I know there was something. When I give my students vocabulary words and we use, excuse me, the Fourier model, when they go and I ask them to use the Merriam-Webster website, because on that website, they once you type in the word, they also have the sound so that you can press it and you can hear the pronunciation of the word. So the kids have their headphones on, and so if there's a word that they don't know how to pronounce, they press that sound and it gives them the pronunciation of it. And I think I've heard some students say that they can change it to a different language to hear how that word is pronounced in a different language, but that's something that I haven't done. So I like that because that helps out a lot. Because my students, they laugh at me because they say I speak very proper, and I was like, no, I speak correct grammar, and they was like, no, they was like, um, you talk very proper. So I was like, okay. So they laugh at the way sometimes that I pronounce things. So that's some other ideas. Um, oh, with the KW, I see with the KWL charts. Um, if you go, you can just Google. There's many different websites that you can pull up different types of KWL charts electronically. In language arts, we tend to use these. We use Remap. We also use, because of the Common Core, where because we do a lot of reading. We also do Venn diagrams when we do to compare and contrast things. Um, when we're even though Common Core doesn't require for us to teach grammar, but CRCT does have grammar on it. So we still teach the kids the 8 parts of speech, and we go into details like the different types of nouns, the different types of pronouns, the different types of adjectives, verbs, um, things like that. So we kind of do a little exercise where we want to know what they know, what do they want to know, and then what did they learn after the activity. Um, We also do, because our school is an avid school, school-wide is an avid school, all of our students have to have what we call ISN, interactive student notebooks. They can be a spiral tablet or they can be a composition notebook. And this is where they take notes, they glue things on the pages. And so for language arts, we often do a lot of foldables of all kinds for them to glue down. This is like to help study. We mostly do the foldables when it comes to, like I said, vocabulary. If we do the KWLs, that may be something they could cut out and glue down in their interactive notebook. But basically, that means that it's another study tool for our students to use. This lady named Miss Burton, sorry, she's from the professional development in Rockdale County, and she was showing us just this past Thursday how to set up. Don't have my notes here. They're at the school. She was showing us how to. She went in and it's something binders is in the website, and shows us how to set up tabs so the students could actually set up an electronic binder online through this website, and it takes them step by step. Like tab 1, they can give it a title, and then there's information that they can put in the tab, and once they're finished they click on the tab and whatever they put, the information pops up and they just go to. So I thought that was something wonderful, and I was like, instead of us using the interactive notebooks that are required, maybe now we can start using this binder, electronic binder, and that's she was showing us, and I just can't I want to say it's www.ebinders.com or .edu, but like I said, I know I have it written down in my notes that when I go to meetings, I have a spiral tablet that I take notes, because I thought that was very interesting. It was colorful. They can change the colors for the background, the tabs, and the text. So I thought, wow, the kids would really love, and they can manipulate, move things around within the tabs. So I just thought that was really nice and wonderful. And I'm trying to, what we're currently doing now, I don't know how to pronounce this, so I said EZVID. I like this system, and I'm trying to figure out how I could make it work in my language arts class, because I know what you have us doing it for, but I'm trying to see what I can get my students, and I'm trying to, in my mind, I'm thinking this is something like like the introductory activity that you had us to do using the program, but I'm trying to figure out what introductory activity can I do with the students so that they can use this, because I like this. I know that some of the students use screencast. I know they've used that, that they know how to use that. I can't think of what class on the team they've used it for, but I know that they've used it. So those are some other options in which can be incorporated